Hey friends, welcome to another edition of Big Al's Rockin' Podcast. If you haven't done so, please subscribe, like, share, all of that wonderful nonsense. And tonight I'm going to introduce you to a very old friend of mine. I say he's very old, he's probably younger than I am. Joe Smith from Joe's Records. How are you doing, my friend?
Hello, Big Al, and all your colleagues. I'm honored and blessed to be here.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
I've known
58.
you're 50. Oh,
How
you
are
are
you?
older. You are older than me. Woohoo! I'm 55.
See, I'm
Uh,
slightly more experienced.
Right. Well, you're a whole lot more experienced than I. But anyway, Joe, he got his start in music as a music store. I don't want to say owner because he didn't start as an owner. He started working in a couple of music stores, and we're just going to start right there and let Joe start talking.
Oh, yeah, the history of my record thing. The I guess it was in '87. I had just finished not finishing college, and I was working at the Pizza Hut there, and in Mount Carmel. That's where I went to high school. And I was actually playing and singing for a top 40 band in Evansville with Scott Burns and some of his buddies. And I was 19 and I was like, I gotta do something different. And I had been a radio TV major there at WVJC in Mount Carmel. So I definitely was a musician and loved music. And I walked out of Pizza Hut one night. It was like dramatic. It was like I was in a movie. And I like that job. There's nothing wrong with that kind of work for sure. I think those people in the fast food industry get a raw deal. I think that's a legit, honest occupation. But I knew I had to do something different. And I walked out, and the next day I went to Evansville. And I asked a buddy of mine if I could stay with him for a little bit. He was a student over there, and that day I got a part-time job at Coconuts, and which had only been open like 5 days. I mean, they just opened it. And 9 months later, I was a store manager.
Now,
And I got to tell you, man, the competition early on was not fierce. You know what I'm saying? I showed up and I cared. And that's what launched me into the management position. But it wasn't like I went in there and was like a rock star. I was green and didn't really know what I was doing. But I was blessed. And they gave me the management position. And I held a lot of hats for that company for 15 years. Did a lot of traveling for them. I was a regional relay manager. I opened, closed, and moved and remodeled stores for them. I was also the UCD national field coordinator for them. That like they had 1,200 stores at one time, and that entire use program that they used for their entire chain that came out of Evansville. It's pretty crazy. That was pretty cool, and I had a really good run with them. Then now I don't think I met you till after I was done with Coconuts, right?
I had been in Coconuts a few times, but I don't think we knew each other. You and I really got to know each other around 2003, 2004
Right.
when I was doing those Kiss Expos.
Kiss things, yeah.
Yeah.
We opened the first Joe's Records in 2004, but back to Coconuts. I love that gig, and I never took it for granted. I mean, I was in my 20s, and playing music in bar bands and doing like the COD thing too, which was a lot of fun, and then running that record store, and it was glorious, and I loved it. I was blessed and
Well,
happy to be there. Those were fun times.
let me give a real quick shout out to Mayor Frank because that's the Joe band that I remember.
Mayor Frank was a good time.
That was a
Man,
fun
Scott Harvey
band.
and I played together. Yeah, yeah. We went through several incarnations, but when we ended up with Harvey McElhenney and Brandon Osborne, uh, we had Brandon in the band. We were able to do like three-part harmonies. And thank you for mentioning that was a lot of fun. That band was a good time. We almost got Mayor Frank McDonald to take a press picture with us. We came this close. He was going to do it at the last minute. He passed, and he wasn't the mayor anymore. He was like the president for Integra Bank
Oh
at
yeah,
that.
that's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, yeah, but
Brandon
we
is
did.
in my band now.
Oh, good. Well,
Yeah.
I think very highly of Brandon as a musician. He's versatile and he can sing low interval harmonies. And
Those
man,
interval
harmonies are
harmonies.
great.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
got good timing, and he's hilarious too.
I like making
I
him
was in a
laugh.
country band. Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
he's got that really cool, deep, fun voice. He, I was in a country band with him, with Stealing Grace for like almost 2 years before Mayor Frank. And I mean, that's when you know your musical prostitution has no boundaries, when you finally go country for a minute.
Yeah.
But I actually learned a lot in that band. Tim Smith was in that band too, and he that was I mean, and then I love playing with everybody in that band, but Tim and I were always super close. T-Bird, and getting to play with him and hang out with him was a real joy. I really loved Tim. He's a great guy. I mean, if you're feeling down in the dumps, need some positive reinforcement in your life, he's a great, great, great hang. But I, uh, I did the Transworld thing. Transworld Entertainment owned that company at the time, uh, and I
Now
did that for
that
15 years.
they owned coconuts.
Yeah, yeah, and they end
Okay.
up they end up like branding almost all their stores. That Coconuts stayed at Coconuts the entire time, even way after I left. But most of their stores became FYEs,
Oh
which was a
yeah.
terrible brand name. Yeah, a terrible brand name. FYE, lowercase acronym. Nobody ever got it. People be like, "Man, you ever go to that Fry store?" It's like you did nothing. Of this is working. But they kind of lost their way. It was a rough patch for record stores too. I mean, I don't dog them out because it was hard for everybody. I think they could have contracted their chain and stuck to their guns. If they just would have stuck with pre-recorded media, I think they could have really found their way. But then they just kind of started like selling MP3 players, and eventually just kind of became a junk store, selling, $20 pink plush turds. But I mean, serious, literal plush turds. I remember going in and seeing one of those in an FYE once. But one thing I'll say though about Transworld is, and nobody talks about it, and I'll talk about it for a second. Is the guy that owned that and started that whole thing. His name was Bob Higgins, R.J. Higgins, and he started just his own shop there in the New York area, upstate New York, and he ended up expanding that thing. I mean, they had 1,300 stores at the end. He owned, and they pretty much like absorbed everybody. They bought Musicland, they bought Disc Jockey, and I was a huge part. I went to acquisitions. I went to stores and said, "Hey, we're buying you. We're interested in keeping your entire staff. Here's what we got to do." And I did opening like inventories to acquire stores for transfer. It was neat. And it was fun because we were like just basically getting huge. Timing was bad because it all went down like 2001, 2002 before the whole downloading thing all blew up. And they end up with all these stores at the worst time ever. But I'll say this about Higgins, man. Now I worked with him with the UCD thing quite a bit. I probably had like 7 meetings with the guy. So it's not like I hung out with him all the time. And I won't say that he was like a sweet guy or a pleasant guy because he really wasn't. He was a hard ass business dude. But I mean, he had these stores in the 90s, the heyday of the music business. I mean, it really was the salad days. The CD sales were just insane. We got all this fantastic music that was being driven by this wonderful commerce that was taking place in the physical media thing, and he drove that, and I just can't believe that there's not a statue of that bastard somewhere. I mean, he really, and nobody even knows who he is, and that bothers me because he really did like. I mean, man, like on every record you bought, like from the late '80s through early 2000s in Evansville. I mean, you bought from him. He made it happen. And I think he should get a little bit more accolades. I remember the funny story about Higgins was like we we expanded that Coconuts. It was 5,000 square feet. And the suit store next door was 4,000 square feet. I've been pushing to expand it. We were killing it. That store was a $2 million store whenever I left. It was nuts how much business that place did. Uh, and so we know that their lease is up and we're going to take over that lot, Alan, right? And Higgins shows up, which is crazy because he's only been in my store twice ever. I worked there for 15 years. He came to see me twice. Uh, and he's like, "How you doing, Bob?" He was real short with me. And he goes over to that suit store, dude, and he's over there with a clipboard, and he's like like when you walk off the square foot and stuff. I'm like, I know you got a site plan on this, dude. What do you? He literally went over there in front of those employees and was like walking it off, and they were good neighbors of mine and friends of mine. And I was thinking, oh man, that's not cool. I wanted because they had no idea. You know what I'm saying?
That was
S&K Menswear.
That was a bad omen for them.
It was, well, wait a minute. I mean, it was just like over, and it's like
Yeah.
I just thought it was it's a dick move, but that dude didn't care, I mean, he didn't mean nothing by it. He's taking care of his business. But I was thinking I was going to go over there and say, "Hey, Bob, man, maybe," but then I'm like, "Well, I hate him. He's going to tell me to eat shit too." So I just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But that was a fun. I had a lot of cool employees. Steve Fowler, who was in Cornucopia of Death, he worked there for me for years. Jeremy Heidi, now Spencer, who was in Five Finger Death Punch. We're still like best friends. We talk all the time. He worked there, and he was in COD too. We had Mike Fisher worked there. We had a lot of fun for all those years, and it was a cool time to be in the record, the best time to be in the record business, even though there weren't any records. But
Right.
it was a lot of fun. And Coconuts was a monster. I was blessed to be there. It was a good time.
So talk about how you went from working for Coconuts as a manager to starting your first store.
Well, like all great romances, we eventually fell out of love, me and Transworld. And in 2002, we parted ways. I was always kind of rebellious, and there's just certain things I didn't want to do and didn't want to do. And I was in a satellite market, and I got away with murder a lot of times. So their corporate structure was pretty stringent, but I mean, they didn't mess with me because we killed it and I had a good staff and they never worried about it. Eventually, the thing that really, really hurt the whole deal for me and what started the problem, was they took the UCD program and just I took it out of my hands. I was setting up stores and really enjoying it. And they bought an outfit out of Boulder, Colorado called SecondSpin.com. And they had a really elaborate POS system that they used for their used thing. And it was just like, I was chopped liver after that. I mean, to their credit, they didn't like cut my pay and they gave me plenty of cool stuff to do, but it just stuck in my craw, Al, and it just bothered me. And So I ran my mouth more than I typically did, and some of the stuff that they put up with before they decided they didn't want to put up with. But it didn't work out, and we parted ways in November of 2002, right at my 15-year anniversary, basically. And I took 9 months off, and then Jennifer, who wasn't my wife then, who was just my fiance, I said, I think we can open up a record store. And her and I worked on our business plan, and we figured out we could borrow this set amount of money, but we needed this amount of money to an equity injection, like all finances are. And so I took a management job at Best Buy, and we did the math, and based on my salary, we could bank my checks and have enough for our equity injection uh, to qualify for an SBA loan, and that's what we did. And now I work with some cool people at Best Buy, but dude, I hated that job, man.
I
I
don't
was,
know anybody. I don't know anybody that's worked at Best Buy that actually liked that job.
there was parts of it I liked. Like it was like I was all proud of Coconuts and the business it did volume wise, but that was like a Best Buy is like a giant. At that time, their media department was monstrous, and it was like, and that's why I managed their media department, so it's still on record. And it was like 15 million a year. It's crazy. I mean, you just got these giant shipments in, and you're just pumping stuff out on the floor. I worked like 6 a.m. to 2:30 every day. The AM stuff was actually pretty cool because I just worked product and did the store. But the culture there, the hard sales, it's real cultish, man. Uh, Derek Dimery worked there, and I ended up hiring him for Joe's Records later on. That was our plan, was he'd come work for me at Best Buy, and then I'd leave, and then he'd follow me later. And then we did that. That's exactly what we did. And that was really cool because Derek's the best guy ever, and I love him. He's one of the best employees I ever had. He ran our West Side store for me for years. But yeah, there's certain things like they would be like, they just tried to assimilate you into this very cultish thing. Like you had to. Like when you went through your training, they give you your blue shirt, but you'd had a team meeting, and these stores were big. They had massive people, big staffs, big, and they would make you dance to get your shirt. And I'm like, man,
I'd walked
I
out
mean,
right then.
I'll dance with a cute girl, but I'm not dancing for this stupid blue polo. And so it was time for me to dance, and just like 3 minutes before that, I knew they were gonna call my name. I just left the meeting and went in the back stock room, and they said you're supposed to dance. I'm like, yeah, I had to go back there, and then they never said nothing else about it. Something else that they, and something else they did there. They loved to give nicknames, and everybody had a nickname. And I was like, oh man, it wasn't because I don't think nicknames are cool. I do think they're cool, and some of those guys had some pretty cool nicknames. But they all started calling me Pony Boy because I always wore my hair in a ponytail, which isn't a bad nickname for me. That's fine. But I just always shit on it because I just didn't want them to have any control. It was nuts. I really was like paranoid that the Best Buy ethos was going to seep into my brain and hypnotize me. It was so weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, if those guys said, "Hey, Pony Boy," I'd be like, "Oh, what? Don't call me that." I'd be like, made it so hard for them to have any fun with it. And after about 2 or 3 weeks, they just quit. So I was like the only dude there, manager there, that didn't have a nickname. Anyway, I worked there 6 months, and I put my notice in once we got our loan with Bank of Evansville, which is a small bank there by Eastland Mall. Kevin Vickery was our loan officer, and we still owe him a big debt. He kind of everything we've done financing wise is based on what he kind of taught us. And we opened when dude, when I left Best Buy, trumpets roared, man. I cannot wait to get out of there. And if you're watching this and I work with you at Best Buy, doesn't mean I don't think you're awesome because I did have a lot of cool people I work with that I think an awful lot of. But I just no. But so we opened our Joe's West Side in 2004. It would have been April in 2004. And that's when we got started there. And I think that's right about when I met you, right then.
Yeah, but I always came to the East Side store.
Yeah. I remember talking to you out there at the West Side.
I
Remember I
may
was
have
gonna
I may have come out there a couple of times, but I believe I went in there and hung out with Derek quite a few times on the East Side store before you got the
yeah,
West Side store open. Yeah,
yeah. And
that's been a minute.
dude, it's crazy. Like I literally forgot my address a couple days ago, but I can remember. Sorry, that wasn't very professional, was it? I can remember uh it like that. You know what I mean? It's
Right,
crazy.
right. Yeah.
Struggling with short-term stuff now, man. At my age, it sucks. I hate it.
You need to get you some of them memory pills. Not the
That's what
little
they
blue,
say.
not the little blue pills.
Yeah, I mean, I could always use those too.
So, how many Joe's records do you have running now?
Well, I have two. At one point, there was a brief period where we actually had six stores. Uh, in like 2014, 2015.
Hmm.
Uh, and I had a partner for a minute, like a junior partner,
Hmm.
and that went awry. It was a we went through rapid expansion, and we did everything in small markets, and we had a really good run there for a minute. But there were certain things we had trouble with, like a lot of our managers weren't good buyers, and we didn't have a really good way. And you can't. It's hard to teach that. And we didn't have a good way to buy product individually from the stores, and that hurt us. We needed to figure out a way to do all this remotely with a buyer, and that hurt us. My partnership fell down the tubes because this guy had some problems. And it really sucked too because we were super close. Well, best friends are best one of my best friends ever. Super gifted retailer. I mean, I still love the guy. He's one of the best people I ever met in my life. But it fell apart, and we fell apart. It was a huge loss of friendship. Uh, and at that point, I'm just like, man, I'm like in my 50s, and I was playing music in St. Louis and had achieved more success over here than I ever did in Evansville with a couple of different projects. And I'm just like, I think I'm just going to retire, just piddle around with bands and just be done. And so I sold a few stores off to like you not really franchise situations, but more like licensee situations.
Hmm.
Uh, and Doug Byers was one of those stores. I basically sold him our Corydon location, and he's still up and running, and he's in Bowling Green with a hard copy store that is killing. He's really done a great job. Doug's a great story because he was my first roommate. We were together at Coconuts, and he wanted to like he wanted to give me his life savings and open up a store. And I said, you know what? Why don't you? I'm going to open up a store in Owensboro, Doug. Why don't you run it for me for a year? Make sure this is what you want to do, you know?
It's
And because I just wasn't comfortable doing that because I liked that Doug a lot, and if it blew up, I didn't want to be responsible for. I have enough trouble dealing with my own bad choices, you know. I don't want to have to deal with his too. But anyway, we did that, and it really worked out great. And I'm really glad for Doug because he's been successful. He has a successful record store in a really pretty honking mall in Bowling Green. But
very cool. Well,
coming
I'm
back
gonna
around to it,
let me interject here
go
real
ahead.
quick. Speaking of bad memory, I had completely forgotten about you had opened those hard copies.
Yeah,
I only
yeah.
remember
They
Joe's
we
records.
right, right. Well, hard copies was that was actually my partner's idea. And I actually really love, and I still think that's a cool name for a record store. It's kind of like you're kind of raising the flag and saying this
Right,
is what we are.
right.
But I will say this: it had trouble landing with people. People would and I still think if you marketed it right and did a better job, better than we did, it wouldn't have mattered. But like people would always come to the store in Marion that I was mostly at, and they would like want to have copies made. Do you guys do copies? Do you guys do color copies? I need 50 copies. They were hard copies.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's like,
It's not
well,
funny, but it is funny.
it's funny now.
Yeah.
And it sucks when you got like $5 in the till and some dude walks in, you're like, golly, I need a sale. And then he wants copies. Yeah, you're almost like, well, I got a copier. It's 50 cents a piece.
Desperate times call for
But
desperate measures.
we've had plenty of those, Alan. Plenty. We've had our good times and our bad times. But anyway, I guess this would have been like late 2017, 2018. Uh I that thing fell apart, and then I just didn't really have a choice. Then I was like, okay, well, I gotta fix this. I gotta get all these going on. So I had sold several of the stores off, and I liquidated one of them, and we were in Marion, and then COVID happened. Uh, and I still had the Evansville store, with Show and Tell, Scott and Dale ran, and I had the Marion store, and then COVID happened, and And it's crazy because we actually benefited from COVID as a business. It's nuts. The Marion store itself was uh, in an area there that where the local political machine uh, wasn't uh, in line with what the state of Illinois was doing as far as being open during that time. So we were closed. I was closed for 6 weeks. And then and Evansville was closed for 6 weeks too. Uh, Evansville, my lease was up right then too in Evansville. Okay. So Evansville came back and to the mall's credit, they did offer me a really very aggressive renew on my lease, price wise. But they also didn't open up the mall for like another 2 months, you know? Uh, and at that point I just said, I think I'm just going to combine the stores because I was already thinking about just having one superstore in St. Louis, half an hour from my house. That was my plan. But I had to make sure that Evansville was a done deal. And that sucked too because Scott Dale's Show and Tell's one of my best friends in the world. That's a hard decision, man. But uh, we ended up closing that store and combining those inventories into Marion. And then I mean, the government just threw money at us, man. I mean, it was insane. And at the same time, the municipality of Marion opened up, anybody that wanted to open could. And we were no other retail in that market was open. Nothing. Because they were all chain based and they were all like had this kind of blanket, policy based on COVID. And so 6 weeks after it started, a lot of local businesses were opening. And the mayor, this is crazy. I called the mayor of Marion. That's a big town.
Hmm.
And the guy's like, Dave, mayor of Marion. Like the guy answers the phone, you know what I'm saying? I thought it was crazy. And I just said, well, I'm Joe Smith. I want to open my store back up. And I saw you had a press conference with the sheriff and the chief of police, and they said you weren't going to enforce some of these uh, strict rules that was coming down from the state. And he said, yeah, I mean, if you want to open, open. If you're not regulated by the health department, then we're not gonna enforce any of that stuff. So we made the decision to open. And dude, it was bedlam. I mean, we were just super like busier than we ever were because we were like the only thing going on. And then at the same time, the government just we filed and applied for all the stuff that the government was offering, and it benefited us because we had already done like 4 SBA loans, so we were kind of baked in the cake a little bit of what we were approved for. And all of a sudden, we just had this fantastic position, inventory wise, cash flow wise, and I said I'm gonna move this thing to St. Louis. I'm gonna move because I've been over here for years, and I was like driving to Marion in Evansville and it just was like wearing me out. And then in 2021, August, we did the move to South County Mall in St. Louis, and our inventory was twice what it was before. I mean, we had that really honking. We had a lot of money in it. We had a lot of our money, some government money, mostly our money, but and it just blew up. I mean, we came to St. Louis and it was just insane busy. So that was the next chapter, and it was pretty exciting. My kids are teenagers and they're working there, and Jennifer's helping, and it was 30 minutes from my house, and it was a real blessing, and we really benefited from it, and it was fun. And then in those years, 21 leading up to now, I really got my hands back on a store and just became a really, kick-ass store manager again, and really learned how to. And we just slowly started building the systems that we thought we could get back into it at a different level. And instead of going into small markets, going to big markets and be mall based, completely mall based. And everyone's like, "You really?" It's like, yeah, there's a method in the madness. There's a lot of malls in this country that are really honking, still destroying. And so that was sort of our slow burn on that. And then last year, Jennifer and I started working on our business plan and really decided to go for it. And uh, we, since we were already in with SBA, we pitched an SBA loan. We wrote like a 39-page business plan. I write most of the dialogue, and then Jennifer organizes it. And she does a lot of the predictions and the math stuff. And it's a really good business plan. And it's for 15 stores. You know what I mean? The maximum amount. SBA will loan a business up to $5 million, right?
Hmm.
And so we're just going to open up a ton of stores. Screw it. We're going to apply for it. We're going to go for it. But of course, and then I I walked like 20 malls in the Midwest. I drove around, did a tour. And our top two malls, based on the criteria that we had put together, was Springfield, Missouri, where I had a former employee that could run it for me, a girl that worked for me in St. Louis, Mo Abushan, and then Memphis, Tennessee. And both Simon malls. Simon is the number one mall developer in the country, and they kill. They have like a 98% tenancy rate. Uh, I mean, and people were like really not in the know about. Of course, that business is contracted, but it's amazing how successful they are. Uh, so anyway, some of the banks were hot for it, some of them were not for it. But one bank in particular, Bank of Belleville, came back and said, "Hey, we'll do 2 stores. We'll finance 2 of them." And the hassle about SBA, Alan, is they it is the most cumbersome. bureaucratic, difficult loan you'll ever take in your life. It just, the amount of paperwork and follow up and it's insanity. I mean, I have this giant computer, supercomputer, Terra, whole through time and space computer, and I just put everything on my desktop that I had to do with it, and it's just full document after document. The cool thing about those loans, there's no they're low interest, and then there's no prepayment penalty. So if you get out in front of it, it's pretty cheap money. And if you come out and you do well, and you want to continue to expand that business, and your assumptions come true because you have to like tell them what you think you're going to do prediction wise before they'll ever consider it. It's pretty elaborate. But if that stuff all goes down the way it's supposed to, they'll continue to finance you on more projects up to like $5 million. You gotta have some skin in the game yourself, of course, but it's pretty cool. And then that process, the loan process, isn't as difficult because you've already done it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's it's pretty cool. So we opened Springfield in November, and we take possession of Memphis in February. And out of the gate, Springfield's killed. It's been unbelievable. I'm having trouble managing it, but I do all the buying remotely. I mean, I'm tapped into a POS system, and so far it's been a lot of work. Opening in Springfield is like 14-hour days. It's 3.5 hours away from me, but the next one will be easier. We're figuring out our system, so we'll see. That's where we're at with it, and it's been so fun. It's just the great thing about it is, man, there's like this casual audience again for music. There's 14-year-old girls buying records. There's a young audience. There's this massive audience of young people that are buying CDs. And my joke is they they say that doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity, but it kind of worked out for me. But that's it. And we love what we do. I love selling heavy metal and hard rock. It's a bit we champion that. That's a big part of what we do. It's not all we do, but I mean I wear that on my sleeve. It's
You have it on your
We're
arm too.
definitely a great hard rock metal store. What's that?
You have it on your arm too, don't you?
What's that? Oh my, yeah.
Heavy metal and hard rock.
Always.
I see
Yeah.
your
So
tattoo. I don't know what it is.
it's it's a fishy thing. It's the underwater scene. But I mean, tattoos are metal. It works, right?
Right.
So
So,
so I gotta ask you. Go ahead, sorry.
no, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask you, like, so what do you got going on?
You mean music wise or just in
With
general?
whatever.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm old, fat, and I'm tired. No,
I understand
you know
completely.
that job that I had when you left town?
Yeah,
I still have the same job. I'm almost ready to retire.
that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, it is.
I'm not that smart.
Yeah, but no, for in 2020 during the COVID shutdown, I don't know if you know him, but Nick Faulkner and myself and Caleb Marquis and Larry Deffendahl and Justin Burden started a country band.
Oh, that's cool.
So we did country and the
I know a
country
couple of
band,
those guys.
the country, you probably know Larry and Justin. Yeah. But the country band just played its last show in November, in early November. But Caleb and Nick and myself and Brandon Osborne are in a band now called Dance Floor Killers. And we do um, hard rock, heavy metal versions of like Taylor Swift and
Oh, that's
Panic at
cool.
Panic at the Disco. And
Just chug it out,
we
right?
don't have any Ed Sheeran in our set list yet, but I'm sure we'll get there. But we've got Backstreet Boys and a couple of NSYNC songs, and we just picked up Britney Spears song, a Taylor Swift song, Katy Perry song. And they're really hitting. They are, because it's something no one else is doing in Evansville.
Right, right. It's cool,
So
man. It was cool with that too is like if it's easy to find source material for that. You know what I
yeah.
mean? There's a metal
Well,
version of Pink
well,
Pony Club on YouTube
that is
that you can
exactly
use
right.
as a template for that.
That is exactly right, and that's kind of what Nick does. He's like, "Can I sing that one?" we're gonna do that one. We're gonna try that one anyway.
Yeah.
Some
It's
of the songs that we would like to do, we can't because there's too much production. And
right.
you got one guitar, one bass. And as a matter of fact, I had to go from a four-string bass to a five-string bass to be in this band because we also do, a couple of Breaking Benjamin songs, the Avenged Sevenfold songs, stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's fun. You guys
Eh,
gigging a lot?
yeah, well, we're already booked out for all 26.
That's great.
Yeah.
Every
So,
weekend?
no, no, our guitar player has a 13 or 14, 15-month old, and he's got another one
Oh
on the
yeah.
way. So the gigging every weekend is not an option.
Sure.
And Brandon's got kids and he runs those
Yeah.
kids around and he does his reptile store and
Sure.
goes to the reptile expos and stuff like that. So we
Right.
all work around each other's schedules. It's just a couple weekends a month. It keeps it fun
I
without it becoming a grind.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. It's funny. I haven't played a gig in over 2 years, and
Yeah.
I gigged incessantly for decades. I mean, I
Yeah.
played acoustic through the week, and then I mean, Throw the Horns was we had an agent. We played all the casinos in St. Louis. We that band worked, and that was a good band. That band we mashed up everything together. We medleyed everything. We had a really cool presentation, and
Yeah.
and everybody in that band was legit. Like, so if you showed up and had a bad night, those guys would make you look bad. I mean, that was those guys could play,
Yeah.
and that was really fun. And then I was in the Hagar tribute. We played quite a bit. And then that Queensryche tribute was really fun. That was something I was really proud of that I was able to pull off. And then playing acoustic through the week. And I mean, dude, we paid cash for groceries the entire time me and Jennifer have been together. But I just about 2.5 years ago, I was really enjoying watching my kids play sports, and Dylan was wanting to play college football, and I just, it was like a light bulb. It was just like I'm tired of this right now. And
That's kind of the same way when Book got out of it. He was just
yeah,
like one day he was like, I'm done. I don't want to do it.
yeah,
But he's got a nice little
yeah, he,
backline business now.
he does. I see it all the
Yeah.
time, man. I
Yeah.
gotta tell you, man, Kevin. I'd love to talk about Kevin. He was a major influence on me as a vocalist. We were kind of the same dude there in Evansville. He was Hertz and I was Avis. I think that's the right order. I was always number two. I was always number two. But I mean, I learned about head voice singing from him big time. I was a late developer.
Mm.
But he was always much better than me back in the day. And it took me a little longer to find my way than it did him. But I always really admired him as a singer, a good singer. People always pit us against each other. And we fell for it sometimes. I mean, back in the day, me and Kevin would get snotty at each other some. But
Yeah.
just that dumb small town horse shit.
Well,
But
it's kind of like
and,
Vince Neil and Axl Rose going to box each other.
yeah, but I don't think we ever came to blows. I don't think we ever talked about coming to blows. But we're Kevin's a friend, and I always, like I said, I of all the like as far as like I jam with really cool people that influence me in different ways. And I never played a note with Kevin on stage because we was always singers, but he was somebody that I really valued as an influence. Kevin's like a pure vocalist.
Yeah.
And I'm more like a smoke and mirrors technique guy that somehow squeaks it out, puts Vaseline on his shoulder so he can get the pitch in. But he he's a good musician. I think an awful lot of Kevin. And he's hilarious too. And a straight shooter that Kevin Book is. He'll tell
Yeah.
you he'll tell you what he thinks.
Yeah. So I did ask a few of my friends to supply me with some questions for this
Okay.
conversation.
I look
So
forward to this.
my friend Mark Fishbeck, he is a childhood friend of mine, and he wants to know what your favorite record store day release is. And he didn't specify any year, so
Of all time?
I guess well, that's what we're going to go with.
Well, I guess I'll go with that 7-inch that Taylor put out. I'm gonna go where the money's at. The one we sold 150 copies of 2 years ago, the Taylor Swift 7-inch that came out. That was a pretty good one. I don't know if you saw my Facebook. There's the Eric Carr
I did
liquid,
see that. I did see that.
yeah, liquid versions of Rockology and
Yeah.
Unfinished Business. Those are really cool.
Yeah.
Those are the only.
I dealt with Eric's sister a couple of times.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I'm just gonna make
I
that face and leave it at that.
I, I get it. I think he's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's but Record Store Day is it's a gift, but it's also really complicated and it's hard to manage, hard to steer correctly. But we are in it because the customers are really, really, really super into it. And uh, there was a few years Alan, that I without it for
Okay.
sure.
Say that again because you kind of froze up.
No, I said Record Store Day. I think I can get away without having it now, but there was a few years there where I think that if we hadn't had Record Store Day, I don't think we would have made it.
I understand that.
It's a big deal. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
So another question that he had, um, what are your thoughts on eco vinyl? Because a lot of people complain that the surface noise is louder than virgin vinyl. And I don't collect vinyl, so I'm not really familiar with the differences.
Well, I'm familiar with the differences, but I'm going to defer it this way. There's no wrong way to buy a record. Uh, uh, there's no wrong choice when it comes to the delivery system of music. And people just got in their heads that they want it a certain way, and we're there to cater to that. Uh, Ever an audiophile, ever. I mean, I had a nice system, records, and I bought CDs, collect and the songs and the bands and the artwork and all that stuff. That's the cool thing about records is this big thing that you open up and look at. Uh, but I have a ton of people that come to the store that would ask the same thing you had just asked, or or are mad because we don't carry enough like hybrid CDs or mobile fidelity audio records and stuff like that. It's super high end audio stuff. But for me personally, just to be honest, whatever you're into, whatever, I don't care about that. And some people, like I have guys who will only buy used records. They hate the new presses. And I got guys that are just like, they come in with white gloves and they're freaked out on germs and they will only buy new records. And then a lot of people go both. So I, doesn't matter to me. Anytime we start doing specific things and making manufacturing very specific and some more difficult, I worry. I wish honestly that it would get simpler again, and that records you would have options. The smaller, less light, less heavy. A lot of vinyls are 180 gram now,
Hmm.
uh, and that's cool. And there's reasons why that works because the they do the needle catches more contact, the grooves are taller. It is a different audio experience. But they also are slightly more susceptible to damage because the grooves are taller, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Uh, if it was simpler, then we could get the price down. And the price of vinyl is vexing to me. You worry about the bubble. It was $1.6 billion last year, so the bubble's nice and bubbly right now. It doesn't look like there's any end in sight. But boy, if you could just get the price down, that would be so much better. So I don't really think much about that. I don't really have an opinion on it one way or the other. But if it's your thing, I'll do everything I can to cater to it. If that makes any sense.
Makes perfect sense. So, one of my cohorts on A to Z Radio, Bill, Lil Willie, wants to know what steps does an indie shop have to take to get set up with distributors of the newer products?
Well, you'll have to go through a one stop. And a one stop is basically, well, it is what it sounds like. A one stop is an outfit that carries everything. They are open. They order all their stuff direct from the major labels, and then they're a one stop place for you to buy all their stuff. And we use our one stop first. We're open with the majors, so we buy direct. We're juiced in, and we're very blessed. And they just don't take on new accounts unless you're just killing it. So if you're a small new indie store, that you will not have a chance at getting direct with like buying direct from Universal or buying direct from Sony or RED. But Alliance, which we buy quite a bit of product from, because there's a lot of other like labels that don't distribute through the majors, and that's the only way to get them. And then Alliance has their own distro label group called Amped. And there's a lot of labels under that, so that's the only way to get it. We buy a lot of accessories from them and imports from them too. So we do a lot of business with Alliance. I have a great account and I have a great relationship with them. Uh, but if you got, if you've got a tax ID, Alliance will sell it to you. It's that simple. If you got money, they'll take it. You have to pay it up front. They're the biggest one stop on the planet. They do a great job. The only downfall to them is they're significantly more expensive. And that's what you're paying for. Yeah. But they, as far as like shipping and all that stuff and the organization, it's actually it's easier to work with than what the majors give you from a just a or like procedural point of view. But their invoices are easier to read. They ship a lot tighter, but they're significantly more expensive. And so it's hard to, I mean, sometimes like universal pieces are like, like MSRP will be like $30 and your cost is like 26. A lot of
Dang.
margin there, you know what I mean? But I don't, MSRP is a myth, so I don't even care. But I never even look at that crap. Nobody gives a shit. I look at the record and what did I pay for it, and then I have a specific amount of margin I want to make each time, and that's what I price it at. So I don't care what MSRP is, and most indies don't. So, but if a guy wants to sell records, there's several one stops. But AMC is another. They do a good job. But Alliance is the one that we use for the non-major stuff, and the vast majority of record stores use. This is also interesting. When we talk about Record Store Day, the majors used to direct ship all that stuff, and uh, and it got to be this gigantic thing. So now, and for the last few years, you have to buy it all from one stop. So even though I buy all my Universal stuff from Universal, or I buy all my Sony stuff from Sony, when Sony and Universal puts out Record Store Day pieces in November and April, the only way I can get them is to buy them through Alliance. And the prices, and that's kind of a drag, but it is what it is. It does make it a lot easier. And, I'm not looking down my nose at Record Store Day. It's a gift, but it, that's a thing with one stops. And I think almost every industry has a similar setup. You know what I mean? There's like if you like are a parts store, you probably have like, you buy direct parts from Chris Farley's dad in Kankakee or whatever. And then you also buy parts from this giant one stop thing too. Uh, but that's pretty much the way that's structured.
You mentioned imports, which brings me to a question that I wanted to ask. How has the tariff situation affected importing with the music industry?
Well, the media imports, we only buy imports from Alliance, and we don't do a ton of it. We do actually the majority of the imports we buy are on compact disc, uh, and it's all baked in. So like I don't, their price is their price, and I see fluctuations in price all the time that have zero explanation. They go down, they go up. Sometimes I'm pissed, sometimes I'm happy, uh, but the there's nothing in there for us. We don't see a tariff. Now, we do buy uh, a, a large, and I'm actually hesitant to even talk about it because you don't really want to, you don't want to call out your tariffs because they're real hit and miss, and a lot of it gets missed. We buy some of our merch from an outfit in England, and sometimes we pay tariffs on it, and sometimes we don't. And that's affected our margin a little bit on that. Other than that, not at all. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not a political guy. I have zero interest in that sort of thing. I treat that like I treat all things political. If some sort of new law or legislation benefits me, it's a gift I gladly receive, but I don't give anybody any credit for it. And then if it affects me adversely, it's an obstacle I must overcome, but I don't throw blame out. It is what it is. You move on, find a way around it. or embrace it, and don't count on it if it's good. Don't let it break you if it's bad. I'm just not going to I'm not going to be affected by that kind of stuff one way or the other. So it's a great question. And I know that a lot of businesses, man, they get a ton of their stuff overseas and it's killing them. I mean, I got a buddy that runs a company and 90% of his stuff comes from China and it's just destroying his business. And that sucks. There's got to be a better answer. But for us, the scenario I just described is pretty much all of it. So that's the only thing we've really had any trouble with and like that. So
That's a pretty good answer.
it's the truth, but I'll lie
Yeah.
to you if you want me to. I'm not as good
No,
at it as I used to be.
I know a lot. I know enough people that every time they open their mouth, they lie. So you you don't have to blow smoke anywhere.
That's the second episode, right? We'll start throwing names out there. You'll probably get a lot more hits.
That, and that's the one thing I am not that podcast that acts like that, and I don't even listen to those podcasts. The minute they start taking stabs at other people, I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do it. I used to, when I was younger, I was sort of, I think you just grow. I grew out of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't need the drama in my life. I'm pretty happy, and I've always been pretty happy, and I don't want to mess with that stuff. And so many people upset. It's not just politics. Social media. It's such
Oh yeah.
it's a disaster, man. And, I mean, there's so much good that comes from it, but it's like I'm just like, what are you doing on here?
Well,
Yeah.
I like social media for the same reason that I dislike social media, because anybody can say whatever they want. Yeah.
Right.
It gives
But
everybody a voice.
it does, and it's fun when you keep it fun and keep it. Yeah, I think it's really cool. But like so many people just like it's not healthy, man. It
Right.
ain't good for you. It ain't good for your family or your friends either.
Right.
But I used to kind of get a kick out of watching the train wrecks, but
Yeah, this
not
ain't bad
anymore.
nut.
Yeah, and I'd love to tell this band that story, but I can't. But I just tell you one. There's a dude that there in Evansville, and he's a musician, and I won't mention any names, but I I had the most ultimate band that own of that dude of all time. It was classic.
Oh my
I had people
gosh.
calling me for like 5 days, like, dude, they're like high-fiving me through the phone, and not like I put him in his place thing, just a funny. I just, he just set himself up to just be a fool. And,
Oh yeah. Oh
what
yeah.
I mean? I really have fun with it too. And, it was, band that was great. There was but I had a lot of other like non-dramatic things that happened on Bandnet too. So, but people would get on there and say crazy shit, man. It was nuts, man. Band
Yeah.
guys, I don't get it. Why are band guys so competitive? It's so stupid. If you're a mechanic, and you're like, man, I do the best transmission shit in town. That Bobby down there, man, his transmission suck. Nobody else does that shit. There's some weird thing with musicians where they think they're better than everybody else, and then you're just not. You're just
That's
some
because we
asshole.
liked all of those hair bands and they all acted like that.
Well, when you're at that level, I mean, that's like wrestling. You get a
Yeah.
front, I guess, but
Yeah.
like me and some other singer dude in Evansville being mad at each other. That's just so
Right.
stupid.
And
So
that
dumb.
always cracks me up. I'm like, dudes, we're in cover bands in Evansville. Why are you acting like that?
I know. I mean, when I was younger, I was guilty of some of it, but
Yeah.
not a whole lot. But it's funny. It is what it is. I mean, if you don't get older, if you don't get wiser, then why get older, I
Right.
mean,
So back to this discussion. Bill also wanted to know, do you use Discogs as a tool or do you feel that it's an overinflated hindrance to the vinyl community?
I do use it as a tool, but it's kind of like my backup. Uh, so what I do when we price records is I actually really like using eBay. And the reason I say that is because it's kind of dumber and faster and simpler. And I'm in a hurry. And the record business is so good that me deciding what I want to sell something for and having this perfect system for it, I want to be close. I mean, it's pretty, you know, uh, what's the word I'm searching for? Consistent,
Mhm.
the way I do it. But it's mostly in my head. But whenever I happen upon something that I think is really valuable, uh, then I go into Discogs to try and get a feel for what I'm going to do with it. Uh, I I a lot and Discogs is hard to navigate, even if you know what you're doing.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, is this the right Matrix thing? And you're all holding it up, trying to see the scratch in the stupid ass Matrix, and it can be yeah, it's kind of hard. But I do think it's but I say I probably use it maybe 5% of the time when I'm looking up records, and then 75% of the time on a record, it's like clean copy of Styx Grand Illusion in great shape, 16.99. I don't look it up. I know what I can get out of it, and I'm confident that I can price it. The problem with that is in our business is it's impossible to teach. And so like I haven't even like opened the gates on like Battlefield Mall, the store in Springfield. It's destroying. And we've been supplying them used product, but we're not even buying used from the public yet. I love my girl down there. She's kick ass and she's a good manager and she's family. But it's just she's 22 and I don't she doesn't want to she doesn't want to be on she doesn't want to buy records from some asshole. You know what I mean? Comes here, this is the limited edition. It's not the Belgian import, it's the Portugal import. It's so mistaken for that all the time and it drives me crazy. Discogs has its median value at $199. It's like I don't want to put her through that, you know.
You
Uh,
sounded like Thurston Howell the third there.
that's kind of what I was going for.
You
You nailed
nailed
it. Yeah,
you
yeah,
nailed it, man.
that's exact. I mean, in spirit,
Hmm.
absolutely. That was exactly who I was trying to be. But
Yeah,
record snobs it's something you got to deal with. It comes from a good place, but yeah, that's uh, that's how that is. So, did I answer the question? I got
you
so
did.
the
You
Thurston Howe
did.
thing threw me
You
off, man.
you
I
did.
was Gilligan Island, man, there for a minute. But
So,
yeah,
speaking of people bringing in used items, have you ever had a customer bring in what I would call a holy grail item, but they didn't know what they had, and you had to kind of be like, "Hey, you've got something here."
oh man, I will say this, man. I mean, it's a strange situation. So I mean, you're trying to keep the lights on. So video games, we don't do video games anymore, but that used to be a real thing. And people would come in with maybe not a holy grail, but it's the same scenario. They got a bunch of stuff that's really valuable. And if a guy comes in and says he's just trying to get a pack of smokes, I mean, how much are you going to pay him? I mean, it's a complicated thing, and I don't really have a moral conundrum about it. But people who come in, they're savvy and they have something that's super valuable. I just tell them dead up, I'm not your guy. You want to sell that online? You want to individually sell it online? Find somebody that has an eBay culture or a Discogs culture in your orbit.
Mhm.
And if you don't, and so like that, that's how you're going to maximize your value. If you've got a record that's worth $1,000, I'm not going to give you 300 bucks for it. I, I'm not interested in that record. I'll spend that 300 bucks on other stuff I could sell quicker, faster, without having to worry about it. So we're not pawn stars. But what the real finds are, you have to remember, we're not, I can't, if you bring me 300 records and I'm interested in them and they're all pretty clean, I can't look up every one of those records. So I go through them all and I have this system that's like, okay, this is this. I know I like this. This is how much I want to charge for this, blah, blah, blah. I get all these stacks going on. And then it's these, I don't know what the shit this stuff is. I'm not familiar. And that still happens every day after all these years. And that one thing I'm good about remembering is records and stuff like that. That is like photographic for me. I have no idea, where my keys are, but I know what I bought yesterday. Now it'll be in my head. So that's where the Holy Grails always come from. So you say, I'll give you 200 bucks for this big collection. And they're like, can you do 250? And I'm like, no, I can do 200. Or yeah, I'll do 250. Or I'll do 220. Sometimes I might haggle a little, sometimes I won't. A lot of times, we're limited. If you bring me in the best record collection on the planet, but I have only got a $600 budget for the rest of the day, I can't offer you more than 600. I'll walk you. I
Mhm.
have to maintain that discipline.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your cash flow gets jacked up, and then you're into your 401k just to make rent. Nobody wants to do that. Uh, But the finds that I've always had are the stuff that I didn't know about. And then after I made the deal, that's the stuff I have to look up. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because I don't know. The rest of the stuff I can just price, boom, boom, boom. I know what I want for it. Uh, but I will tell you a crazy story about a guy that sold me some stuff and I thought it was insane. Uh, Guy came in and he had worked at Blockbuster. Remember Blockbuster Music there in Evansville?
Yep.
And when they, man, they gave us fits at Coconuts there for a minute because you could listen to everything. That's a fight. It actually really backfired on them because you could go in there and they had listening booths and they would let you listen to any CD you wanted, which seems like this archaic thing. But that was a real, you know, that was that was nice.
The
And
double-edged sword.
but what happened, it killed us because people were going out and listening to shit and previewing it before they and then I mean we were right between them and Best Buy. We had one really bad year there at Coconuts. We came out of it. The but what they ended up doing, man, was they opened all those CDs up. And the labels, they won't take those CDs back once that dog bow's broken.
Uh-huh.
You can't return it. So they end up like having like 60% of their entire CD inventory not returnable. So when they started experimenting with bankruptcy, their plan was, here's what we're going to do. We're going to return these CDs. We'll get credit for that. Help us get out of arrears with these vendors. And the vendors are like, no, we're not taking them back. They're used. Uh, but anyway, this guy worked at Blockbuster, and he had bought a bunch of limited U.S. press '90s records. Those were hard to come by. I mean, that was a niche. And he had like, now I carry almost all these now, but he had like Los Exorcisto by White Zombie. There's
Yeah.
probably only 500 of those. Anything was '90s. He had STP, Purple, and Core, and all these records that had super limited runs. And then he had Tool Enema.
Mm.
And then he had like 60 records. And he was like, yeah, I bought these. I figured they'd be worth something someday. So I just kind of kept them as my retirement. And I'm like, uh, I'm just going to walk this guy because he's going to want a gazillion. And we were struggling. And this is like 2008. It was a bad year. And I'm just going to walk this guy because I can't afford them. And he's like, because I knew I'd make some real money on them. I'm like, yeah, yeah. He's like, but man, I'm really desperate right now. I just need 150 bucks. And I was like, ka-ching. Here's your 150. And that was the most expensive record I ever sold on eBay, that Enema. I sold for $1,400.
Dang.
But I mean, the guy was just like, and I thought it was so crazy. He had the best plan ever till the very end. You know what I mean? He kept them, they dated, they were valuable, and then he came in and just threw them at me for nothing. I don't feel bad about it because the guy already, I mean, he needed that money, and I mean, I hope in some ways I probably helped him out, you know.
Yep.
But you can't get too wrapped up in that. But I walk people all the time, and I just tell them dead up, man, no worries. This is what I can offer you, and if you don't want it, I'm not mad at you. Don't be mad at me. That's what I can do. And you can try. But the cool thing right now is like in the St. Louis market, I know we're paying more than everybody else. We really are. We're paying more. But people, you know, they're always going to take a hit when you sell your stuff and you bought it full price and you're trying to get rid of it. And it's hard for them sometimes. So I know that we pay more than almost all the other places in town do. I'm confident we do, especially on compact discs. Uh, so it is what it is. But yeah, that Tool record was I was visiting my sister in North Carolina for Christmas. I mean, Dylan was just like one and a half, my oldest, maybe 2 years old. I remember my eBay thing going ding. I'm looking at it. It was that it was that Tool. And buddy, we needed $1,400 in. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it
Hey,
helped.
I remember having a little one and not having any money. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I've got one more question for you, and then we'll wrap this up. Speedway Jeff, also from A to Z Radio, wants to know how has the revival of vinyl impacted demand of CDs and now even cassettes with your customers?
Well, there's some hyperbole out there about cassettes, but we're not really seeing it. I don't. Every now and then I'll bring something in, like I brought in the new Ghost Skeletal record, and I sold a couple copies of that. I'm not bought into it yet. There is an increase, but it's such a relative measure. It's such a small thing. Uh, I mean, the record thing is fantastic. and our margin has picked up a little bit on that. We're being more aggressive with our sell price a little bit, and then the labels are coming up with not enough, but there's some pricing things they got going on that are pretty effective. Some catalog stuff. Rhino Records, for instance, has some. I hate that $30 is a reasonably priced record, but that's what it is. They have a lot of stuff that comes in about that price, 27, $30. That helps. But records are that's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's growing. I'm telling you, Alan, you could open up 100 of these record stores in malls, and that's your best bet. They would all kill. You just got to pick the right mall. But CDs, they made a comeback. I think the last 3 years they're up. I think this year they're saying that people over there at the place that knows thinks they're going to run a 7% increase in CDs this year, new stuff, and it is 25% of our business. We kill on it. Uh, it's funny because when CDs first came out, everyone was like, "Oh my God, CDs! They sound so great." The digital format's unbelievable. Just listen. And now everybody shits on it, Well, it didn't change. It's like they still sound great. And
But it's
I'll
not
say,
warm like vinyl.
it's like, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the difference between RC, Coca-Cola, and Pepsi if I'm blindfolded, but I could do a cassette, a record, and a CD. I could do it.
They all have their own hiss.
But yeah, it's like I never again I is it the new Lamb of God and it rules? That's all I care about.
Right.
And that's how I am with for me personally. Now I cater to the whimsy of others, and I understand it, and I respect it. But yeah, I just always thought like that all of a sudden everyone's like CDs. Oh my goodness, they're so digital, man. There's no warmth there, man. Ugh. It's like I mean, you're talking about that. I don't get it, and I think that digital. And I don't want our record buyers to come in and say, "That was heresy, Joe Smith. I denounce you." But I think that metal and dance music and maybe a couple of other genres, I think they sound better digital. I mean, a scooped out metal band, I mean, good God, the new Bleed from Within, that clicky kick drum and the guitars are polyrhythms. That sounds better digital. I don't care what anybody says, but they both have their attributes, and I love CDs. They're durable. The used CD market rules. They're durable. They can be repaired. You know, Records are just once they're jacked up, man, they're jacked up. You can't fix it. So we love CDs, and we want to. We can grow that market
Yeah.
big
Do you
time.
do any business online?
Yeah, I still have the eBay store, and I sell. We sell. I have two different things I sell on eBay. Expensive stuff that I can't sell in the store, and crappy stuff I can't sell in the store. So
Like,
that's pretty much it.
okay. Now,
If I had more time to put into it, we used to do a ton of business on that, but our brick and mortar is so good now that we don't put as much time into it. It's a tricky thing because you can hire a full-time person that can do it, but will it cover their salary enough to make it make sense to do that? And it's
right.
kind of hard. So I just kind of piddle around with it. Uh, I think I have like 10 million things in the back room and the spot for eBay that need listed. And I go back there and kind of just pick at it when I have time, which is never. Uh, but so Rockstar Godzilla Media. Godzilla Rockstar Media is our eBay store. And then we also have joesrecords.com, which you can order everything we have in the store direct from us, all of our new stuff, all of our t-shirts. It's all up there, and we'll ship it to you. And that's our online presence, our regular eBay, or not our eBay store, but our regular website. And that's pretty cool. And we launched that like last year. My wife was Jennifer. That was her thing. She got that thing all cooking. But it took us forever. We had to get our POS together. I mean, I was involved with the record store part of it, but and the POS part of it. But we worked our tails off to be able to have a POS. So we would get to the website and I could run it remotely as far as ordering stuff like that goes. It was thousands and thousands and thousands of SKUs. Uh, I'm glad that's over. That was a lot.
I bet. All right. Well, Joe, I do appreciate your time, and this has been an extremely fun conversation and some fun reminiscing.
Yeah, yeah. I always held you in such high accord. You're a fellow Kiss nerd.
Yeah.
The Kiss thing is always a fun thing. And I was gonna come out here all with my Onk makeup
Oh
and
my gosh. Yeah.
get like open up with Boys Are Gonna Rock, but
Yeah.
I'll be
That
first.
dude, that dude, he in 2018, he came out of whatever rock he was living under, and he had such an opportunity to make things right with the people he had wronged over all them years, and he just dug a deeper hole. I do not get that guy.
I know that's why I have so much fun because I know how aggravated you are about it.
Uh,
And when you put your time and effort and you love something as much as I know you're really into it, man. I am
yeah.
too. I don't think I'm as into it as you are, but I'm really into it. And it's aggravating. And especially when that Dick Dong just, it's like it's too bad. I'm not really a massive fan of his solo stuff, but I do love this stuff. I mean, I love Lick It Up. I think it's a great record. I love the stuff he did on Revenge. I think he resurrected Kiss songwriting wise. I don't know what that would. I mean, he was in the right place at the right time for that. Just
hmm He
and
did
then
some work.
now it's
He did some work on Creatures too.
yep. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, sure.
Yeah.
That's a great record. That record just came out at the wrong time. It's like they just it was too little, too late.
Yeah.
I mean, not too little. It was just too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
After the Elder, it's like Creatures just didn't. It wasn't. It was a big hole to dig out of, and that
Right.
sucks because that's a badass record,
Yeah.
a great record.
Yep.
Have you heard Bryan Adams' version of War Machine
War Machine.
yet?
Yeah, he did War Machine, and he did another one off of that album. I'm drawing a blank now. He did a 45 that's flipped on the other. So whatever the other song was, all my Kiss friends are like, "You loser."
I thought I wasn't familiar with another one. I thought he only did War Machine, which is crazy because of all the Kiss songs you think he would have co-written. That's like a heavy metal riff, It's a
Right,
really heavy
right.
riff. It's real
Yeah.
simple, but it's chuggy as hell.
Yeah. I
And
saw there's a YouTube video of him doing that on acoustic guitar backstage right before he went on to do a Bryan Adams show.
like Bryan Adams, he's got some cool
Yeah.
songs. But
Yeah. Laura and I
yeah.
went and saw him in Nashville a few years ago. It was a really good show.
So Ace dying, that's a drag, man, right?
Oh
That sucks.
yeah. That's in the Kiss world, that was as devastating as when Eddie Van Halen died.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
hate to sit here and be all macabre and rate these celebrity deaths that affected. Dime was a rough one, man.
Oh yeah.
That was probably the worst one. And man, I'm a big time Ozzy guy, big time. And with Ozzy, it sucked because he retired, and that was emotional for me. And then 2 days later, he died. I felt like I had to go through it twice,
Yeah.
and that sucked. I'm a massive Ozzy guy. I'm
Yeah.
much more into Ozzy solo stuff than I am Sabbath. I mean, I still love Sabbath,
Right.
but I mean, the first seven Ozzy albums are just, I mean, just delivered, man. I mean,
Yeah.
and the Sabbath too. I mean, all those Sabbath records rule. I mean, that guy's career is nuts. I mean, just quality
Yeah.
releases. So,
He
but
got he got
yeah,
more lives than Peter Chris.
what's that?
He's got more lives than Peter Chris.
It's great. Well, eventually we all run out, man. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's happening to either one of us anytime soon.
I'm not
Uh,
in any hurry for that.
Me neither. I like being alive. It's pretty fun most of the time. It's pretty fun. So.
I hear you. Well, Joe, I appreciate your time, and we will have to do this again sometime.
Thanks, man. I hope I didn't gab too much. Once you get me started, man, it's kind of hard to stop. But
I know. All right, man. Take care.
thanks, buddy.
Thanks for listening to Big Al's Rockin' Podcast. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe on your preferred podcast outlet. Visit BigAlRocks.com to find past episodes, on-demand links to my radio show, links to my social media, and other Big Al shenanigans. Most importantly, please like and share this episode. Peace out.